A couple weeks ago, Joe Biden put out a post that said Donald Trump vows to be a dictator on day one. Now, before I get into what this can actually mean, I'm going to show you what Donald Trump actually said.
Under no circumstances, you are promising America tonight you would never abuse power as retribution against anybody.
Except for day one.
Except
Look,
what?
he's going crazy. Except for day one.
Meaning?
I want to close the border and I want to drill.
That's
drill,
not. That's
drill.
That's not.
No, no.
That's not retribution. I got.
I'm going to be. You know, he keeps. We love this guy. He says, "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" I said, "No. Other than day one, we're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator." Okay?
All right, so here's a look at what other news agencies were saying when this came out. The Wall Street Journal said The Wall Street Journal says Trump says he won't be a dictator except for day one. NBC News said other than day one. Fox News said I'm not going to be a dictator. CNN said watch Trump appear to double down on dictator comment. They also said Donald Trump jokes about acting like a dictator. All right, so the problem with Joe Biden's post is that Donald Trump vows to be a dictator on day one can be interpreted in two ways. So the first one is starting on day one. This means that on day one, I'm going to work hard, which means every other day after that, I'm going to continue to work hard, which means Donald Trump is going to be a dictator on day one and continue to be a dictator thereafter. It can also be interpreted as on only day one. Donald Trump vows to be a dictator on day one. Only on day one. So the question is, what was Donald Trump actually talking about? Chances are he was just talking about the executive order, which pretty much in a nutshell, the executive order is an order the president can put out that isn't a law, but carries the same weight as one. So an executive order is released without consultation or permission from Congress, and it is enforced like laws. Now, it is subject to judicial review. The courts can deny it. Also, the legislative/Congress can create legislation that counteracts the executive order or just deny funding to what the executive order needs. So, for example, FDR put out an executive order that helped build roads, bridges, and parks, as well as other things. FDR also, in 1942, did it to create, which was essentially internment camps for Italians, Germans, or Japanese Americans. Harry Truman did it to desegregate the military. So the executive order can be both positive and negative. It's really just about what they pass. It's not exactly inherently bad or inherently good. So all I covered today was just Joe Biden's post. Obviously, it's a little misleading. There's stuff that Donald Trump puts out that I'm sure is misleading as well. I'm only touching on one side. So if you're like, oh, this is a little biased, it's like, yeah, it is. But just so you know, I'm aware that it's a little biased. I'm only touching on this one post. If you like this type of content, go ahead and like it. If you want to see more of this, go ahead and follow along.